This is part 2 of the try bucket video, and what we've done is represented a lot of soil around 3 inverted buckets that will be connected to a tower. And in the video previously we had made all these pieces be soil, and we have these 3 buckets. Let's turn off the soil for a moment, and we do that with the F9 key. And oops, what I see is there's some tops missing from the buckets, and that probably happened when I failed to click the no merge early enough in some of the pull operations. But the other thing I just realized is when looking, let's show all bodies, when looking at these, I'm actually gluing the soil to the buckets with the common nodes, and on second thought I don't want to glue the soil to the buckets, because when we look at the some of the details, we want the buckets sliding on the soil and not glued to the soil. So when I said use share topology, I'm rethinking. We want share topology across the split line between the soil in the bucket and the soil below the bucket, because that doesn't slide on each other. But we don't want to glue the soil to the bucket, so we're going to be a little more careful when we go back, and we want the bucket to be separate from the soil. So share topology is not appropriate in this case. It's often appropriate, but to fix that, let us pick up the space claim again. And what we really want is, we want first to fix the missing surface on one of the buckets. So these two on the side are missing tops, so let's use the copy paste. So control click those two and say copy the faces, and then control V to paste. So now we have I think enough buckets and enough soil. Let's also make a component called buckets. I think maybe bucket 1 and bucket 2 and bucket 3. Let's put this bucket into bucket 1, and we'll do new component, call it bucket 2, and let's put say this surface and that top. Control click and drag and drop them into bucket 2, and then make a new component called bucket 3 and put the last 2 surfaces in there. Oops, click, shift click, drag and drop. There we go. So the soil, let's be careful and put the topsoil that is on the level of the buckets, which looks like it's all of these. We'll put those into a component called topsoil. Topsoil, because we don't want the nodes of the topsoil to be shared, because we want the soil inside the bucket to move separately from the soil outside the bucket. But let's make a new component called bottom soil. And the bottom soil, we do want to unite all of that into a single mesh. So I think we'll do share topology share for the soil on the bottom, and on all of these 3 buckets we want to share, so the top of the bucket wants to connect with the nodes on the sides of the bucket. But the topsoil, we don't want to share topology. We want to in fact have separate pieces that are using contact to touch the bucket, and therefore the system as a whole doesn't want to share. So we'll just say none to the system as a whole. So the bottom will connect, the top will use contact, and then we'll have to use contact between the top and the bottom and bond those two layers together. So I think that is a better arrangement, and if we hide the soil, we've got the buckets. And so let us bring that new geometry in to mechanical, and since we started mechanical, that is as simple as doing a right mouse button and update geometry from source. That's one technique to do it. Now here we have bucket 2 and 3 have two faces in them. This one bucket seems to have a face that let's hide all other bodies and take a look at that. And I think we'll stop the video here as a good place to pause.